Hi, I'm Nate the Bias User, and today I'm going to be reviewing this Trico album, Fudeki. Tricot-Fudeki is a sequel album to what I would consider at the time to be the band's most experimental and unique record they've ever dropped, Jodaki. But I think they doubled down on this new one, not to mention how noisy it is. And the album seems to make it clear on what we as an audience signed up for. On the intro, Imitation paper Hideki-chan, where all the guitars are just losing its fucking mind, while the drums are getting feathered, and the band just seem to be talking to each other while all this happens. Best believe I liked how this track turned out. The production was great, shit was noisy but also crisp, and I wouldn't be surprised if people accused this of not being music, but you can still like how it sounds. And it's not like this record continues to be the way the intro is, because unlike Imitation, anyone who's heard music can see the rest of this album as music, even if it is noisy, because it gets that way a lot. #Arcoy brings in a lot of funk in its drums and the cooperation it gets from the wonky guitar on one side and high-pitched guitar on the other. And I'll also bring up how the vocals here remind me a lot of another J-pop band, Chai, that had me a little concerned, but it still ended up being good. The entire track was great. OOOL is danceable all around, with its catchy bass and the drum hyping up the bass, and a layer of guitar plucking around ended up leading to a fast, jazzy ending that was well produced. It's also cool Tricot was able to pull off a progression this good in no more than 3 minutes. Jodan Kentei takes the album in a more foggy direction, which ends up being fine. I ended up liking the unorganized feel of the polished guitar going around. And there was this slowdown part that was eargasmic and helped make the feathered singing more noticeable. Great track, but this album would be better off if this was the most blurry and laid back the record got, because Crumb went too far. The things about this track, from the slow tempo to vocals to production, lacks engagement and enjoyment. But I guess if you go out of your way to listen deep into the thickness, you could still find the overall instrumentation to be explorable at least, but it's still not a really good track. While I'm complaining, I'll also make it clear how stylistically inconsistently I find this record to be. Right after Crumb, we get Tricot going back to their old ways on End Roll, which ends up being fun and cherishable. I actually liked how raw the album gets on the chaotic Android, where I couldn't get enough of the walkie-talkie vocals. The vocals were peaking in beauty on the slow burner, KUJIRA, that also had drums speeding up, while bringing no harm to the piece. These were great songs, but when they consistently get massive change-ups to the album, especially when it comes to tempo and production, it does negatively affect the pacing. To squeeze my negative thoughts out completely, I also wasn't crazy about the power pop beginning of the title track. That's also the closer, which reminded me a lot of the self-derivative side of Weezer. But to the thing I like about this track, it's 7 minutes but feels shorter, and I blame it on the noisy progression I liked. So just like Jodaki, Fudeki was a risky project. And even though I gave my complaints on this record, changing direction every chance it gets, the changes still ended up making a final project where I liked the vast majority of the tracks, and compared to the predecessor, way more hits than misses. I'm gonna give this album a 7.7.